development, adding that failed safety tests after June's fire. And while £2 million to replace the cladding seems like a lot of money, it doesn't come close to the amount that's been quoted to take down the panels at New Capitol Quay in Greenwich in South London, where residents have been given an estimate of £19 to £40 million to fix the problem there. Well, I'm joined on the line now by Charlie, a resident of New Capitol Quay. Charlie, thanks for joining me. Tell us a little bit more about what it's like to live in a development which still has this Grenfell-style cladding.
Hi, and thanks for having me on the show. It's frightening from a human level. I would say as well, you've quoted some figures there as to the cost that may well be borne by residents. I think it's worth saying that no one's communicated that to the residents, and that's just something that I understand being reported in the press. But yes, I think inevitably it's going to be expensive for whoever ultimately bears the cost of the replacement. But with regard to life on the development, it's changed. I mean, we're a very happy community on the development. A number of us really love living at New Capitol Quay. But when you're told that you live in a building which has cladding, which has failed fire inspection tests, it becomes a more frightening place to live. One of our residents is an 85-year-old, and it's worth saying there are about 1,000 flats on site. One of our residents is an 85-year-old who I spoke to recently, who lives on the 7th floor with her son and daughter, and has become very worried about the situation. She's hard of hearing, worried how she would know how to evacuate in the event of a fire, but also worried about how quickly she could evacuate. She's on a cane. She'd have to come down the stairs from the 7th floor. And her worry is that she would actually stop people being able to evacuate themselves because she would cause a blockage and would endanger other people's lives. And she actually said to me, is it fair that an 85-year-old should endanger the lives of others just to save herself? And I think when you're grappling with those sorts of things at 85, because of the cladding situation on the development, it's scary, and we just want the cladding replaced, really. That's what we want to happen. Now, the building that I was talking about in Croydon, they have fire marshals patrolling the building. Do you have that? And if so, who pays for them? We do have fire marshals patrolling our building, the Waking Watch, as they're called. At this stage, the cost hasn't been passed on to the residents by the freeholder, but I understand that that's something that could happen. It hasn't happened yet on our development.
How are residents feeling at the moment? Presumably pretty unsafe.
Yeah, residents are feeling unsafe, and as I said, the 85-year-old I spoke to is just the tip of the story. I personally live on a higher level floor. Although I'm young and able, it wouldn't be the case that I would be able to jump out the window and live if there was a fire. So it is something that does play on my mind and play on the minds of other residents, and particularly those with children. We're a development which attracts a lot of families. You know, it's a nice, safe space, luckily, where we live in terms of the surrounding area. And there are families with small children, with babies, who are particularly concerned about how they would evacuate safely in the event of a fire.
Do you think the authorities should be doing more? The government, the local council, I don't know who else?
I know that not myself personally, but others on the development have approached the council for support. I've not heard anything, and I don't believe anyone on the within the development has heard anything from the council directly. They've certainly not communicated with us. As for the government, I mean, it's not for me to say who should solve this problem. I certainly don't think it would be fair that costs be passed on to residents. But what needs to be sorted is the cladding just needs to be removed. And if there are going to be arguments about who pays, then I feel like that should happen later down the line. What needs to happen is we need to feel safe in our homes.
Charlie, thank you very much for talking to us. Well, we reached out to Galliard Homes, who built New Capital Quay, for comment. They didn't want to put anyone up for interview, but they have sent us a statement. The key points they make are these. At the time of construction, the cladding material was widely used and approved for buildings like New Capital Quay. And that cladding was put up by subcontractors on the understanding that it complied with building regulations. They say leaseholders have put in claims to get the cost of cladding replacement covered through insurance, but the insurer is refusing to accept there is a problem with the cladding. A Galliard spokesperson says that position is being robustly challenged and may well require legal proceedings. The insurers, NHBC, meanwhile, tell us they're committed to progressing claims for residents as quickly as possible, but they haven't received the information needed from the building owner. A spokesperson said, "We've asked PMML, a subsidiary of Galliard Homes, to demonstrate to us how the buildings did not comply with the building regulations in force at the time of construction. Unfortunately, PMML has declined to provide this information and has not responded to our request to meet with them. They're now sending in an independent expert to assess the situation and have set up a dedicated website." Well, you can find the full statement from Galliard Homes and NHBC on our website at lbc.co.uk. Let's go back to your calls on the John Warboys